Let's take a look at my top 10 quarterbacks. Of course, they can be found at ftnfantasy.com, but right here, live and free for you. No surprises up at the top. Really, this is my 5. I've kind of tinkered around a little bit. I've had Patrick Mahomes at 4 and 5. I've had Jalen Hurts at 3, but this is how my projections play out. Josh Allen's been a top quarterback in fantasy football in each of the past 2 seasons. I don't really see that changing. Herbert could take the throne. He's pretty close, but I think the biggest difference I see in drafts from this would be maybe Herbert falls to 3 and 4. Mahomes goes 2. People have been aggressive on Jalen Hurts. I've seen him go as high as 3 in certain drafts. You got the rushing upside there with Jackson, Hurts, and Murray. You got that rushing floor. Even though Kyler, if you look at last year and you look at his second year, I mean, he's progressed from an accuracy standpoint in each of his seasons in the NFL. But he did struggle without DeAndre Hopkins. So did Arizona. They didn't have a winning record with him in the lineup. Remember, they started really strong. Kyler kind of suffered an injury again for the second straight year in the midway part of the season. And then we saw him kind of struggle overall. He didn't really have as many red zone opportunities or carries. And, he was missing his guy in DeAndre Hopkins. But I still think I'm fine with him. I'm not going to fight anybody if they want to have him inside the top 5 here. I think if I'm labeling a bust in the top 5, it may be Patrick Mahomes. And I think he's a really, really good quarterback, but I'm not into taking these guys early. Like, I won't have any shares of Allen, Herbert, or Mahomes. I just won't. I'm not into taking a quarterback within my first 40 picks. It's not for me in a single quarterback league. I just don't like to do it. Best ball, sure. Make a case for anybody in best ball. Have whatever stack you want. Super flex, absolutely. Allen's going to go pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, and I get it. I'm actually kind of fine with it. And super flex, if I'm near the end of the first, I kind of just take the value at running back and wide receiver if all the quarterbacks are going to go off the board. And then I try to get myself maybe, somebody on this list inside the top 10, whether a Burrow or a Lance and things like that. But another guy maybe could be a bust on this list could be Joe Burrow. On average, NFFC leagues, he's going as quarterback 4. I think that's pretty steep as quarterback 4. It's a much tougher schedule this year for the Bengals. Now, I like all their weapons. You got 2 wide receivers in Higgins and Chase going inside the top 12. So it's certainly warranted. I wouldn't be shocked if he finishes a top 5 quarterback, but I don't want to spend a top 50 pick on Joe Burrow. In fact, I don't want to spend a top 50 pick on a quarterback at all, unless it's Lamar, Hurts. Like, these are guys that I feel like, well, they got the board there, Tyler, for Jalen Hurts. And what he did last season, finished his quarterback 6 in fantasy points per game last year, really giving you nothing in terms of his yards through the year, 3,100 yards. He only had 16 touchdowns. Now you're bringing A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert away from Zach Ertz. Devontae Smith in year 2 had 900 yards as a rookie against top coverage. So Hurts is set up to have a terrific season, not just a fantasy season, but a real good NFL season. And the Eagles are going to let him chuck. It will still be a run-heavy offense, maybe not as much as last year. At the start of the season last year, they threw the ball so much. Nick Sirianni, a rookie coach, realized, let's play to the strengths. And the strengths of this team is the offensive line. It's one of the best, if not the best, in all of the NFL. He led all quarterbacks in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So say we scale that back to maybe 650. Maybe we only give him 6 rushing touchdowns. You got to think he's going to throw for 3,500 yards, or he flirts with 20, 24, 25 passing touchdowns. So it'll all even out. Some questions about the accuracy. 61 completion percentage is not ideal. It's not awful for his first full season in the NFL. So I think he can improve as a passer. As you see, I got him as a top 5 quarterback. Back to that list there for a second, though. I'll get to some of these questions, guys, as I see you're asking them here in the chat. I will get to them in just a minute. Tom Brady's a guy that I've moved down quite a bit. I had him as a top 5 quarterback. He finished his QB3 last year. He led the NFL in passing attempts, passing yards, passing touchdowns. Nobody threw the ball more than Tampa Bay. In terms of pace of play, they played up-tempo, even though they blew teams out. They had 66% of the plays were passing attempts. So this was a team that really just pedal to the metal. And, they bring in Julio Jones, Russell Gage, and, even though Gronk is gone, Mike Evans has done nothing but turn out 1,000-yard seasons and double-digit touchdowns. I think he got 27, 26 touchdowns in 2 years with Brady. So he's been a beast. Godwin's an absolute stud. I'm just a little concerned lately what's happening to the offensive line. So I've dropped him down a little bit, but I still view him as an undervalued quarterback because this is the range that he's going: quarterback 8, quarterback 9, quarterback 10. So that's what I mean about waiting it out a little bit at the position. Russell Wilson, change of scenery, two stud wide receivers. I believe Judy is going to be a stud in the NFL, and we know Cortland Sutton has the upside there. And, he's got a beast of a tight end in Albert O, who could be a really, really good tight end from a fantasy standpoint as well, like a mismatch in the middle of the field. So I like Russ there. But the one guy I'll touch on here is Trey Lance, quarterback 9. You see, I've kind of moved him up a little as quarterback 12. This is from a while ago. I've jumped him up just a couple spots, and it's the rushing. Part of it is now I know that Jimmy G is not going to be a part of this team. They're trying to move him. They've officially turned the corner to Trey Lance, which is something I thought they were going to do last year, but you never know with this organization. It's hard to trust what these guys are going to do in San Fran. But you see the note on the right, and that's what it's all about. There's going to be some inconsistencies in his game. There's like 57.7 completion percentage, right? Everyone's hard on Jalen. Like 57 is awful. And there's going to be games where he doesn't really do anything through the air. He struggles maybe a couple picks, but the note on the right is the key. 120 rushing yards, 33 fantasy points in his 2 starts. That is significant. He's going to call his own number. Shanahan's going to set him up to succeed. He's got multiple guys that are yak monsters: George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. We talked earlier. He may have a higher ADOT than this, but that's a healthy ADOT right there for pushing the ball down the field. And I think I think he has upside to be like a top 5 quarterback, but I'm not breaking any news here. That's for sure. And Andrew Ford means in a league where quarterback passing touchdown is 6 points, same as a rushing touchdown. Should I got Hurts at his current ADP or wait and hope Rodgers can do it again this year? I am out on Rodgers. We'll talk about it in a second, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it again this year. I think it's going to be a run-first offense. Man, if anything happens to Allen Lazard, it could be a real crapshoot in Green Bay this year. Like, who's going to be able to step up? Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, a couple rookies, and Dobbs and Watson in there. So I think it's okay to grab Hurts, but man, a 6-point passing touchdown, the strategy definitely changes. I'm more willing to, get a top quarterback at that point, where I still probably won't do Allen or Mahomes or Herbert. Still slightly early for me. I don't like to spend that top 40 pick, but man, you got to address the quarterback position. You can't really wait. I would instead of wait on Rodgers, I think Hurts is fine. I really do think he could be a game changer this year. It's not because the Eagles banner is behind me. I just think he's set up perfectly, like I said in the last segment, to have success. So I think it's okay maybe to grab him at his current ADP and his 6-point Andrew. But I think if you want to wait it out at the quarterback position, like a guy like Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr, or maybe even, I don't know about Lance. I don't know about Lance in a 6-point, but you got that rushing floor, which is nice. But, with Derek Carr, maybe sometimes going after Rodgers. Let's bring up 11 to 20 and kind of walk through this. I think, some of these names on this list, a Stafford, waiting it out on a Stafford, waiting it out on a Carr. I think Cousins is actually okay in a 6-point passing league as well. We just talked about Thielen, right? Thielen has been a touchdown machine, and Cousins has finished as a top 15 quarterback over the past couple of years. He's kind of undervalued, and you got Justin Jefferson in there. You got an offensive-minded head coach now, which they just haven't had in Minnesota. So we could see maybe a higher ceiling here from Kirk Cousins. No, it's risky. You leave your draft, your home league with your buddies as Kirk Cousins is your number 1 QB and a 6-point passing touchdown. I understand that it's risky, but a Stafford or a Wilson, I would wait out maybe on those guys. Derek Carr, even Dak, right? Dak, I know he's only got a couple weapons there, but Michael Gallup comes back, and we're still looking at that offense being one of the better ones. But Stafford, I know there's an elbow thing happening. That has made me move him a little bit down. I had him ahead of Russell Wilson. I could switch, but he's out there throwing at least. So that's a positive that he's out there chucking us some 60-yard bombs from Matthew Stafford there. So it's good news. Dak Prescott, right? I mean, this was one of the best, if not the best. I mean, I think they led the NFL in as a team passing yards. I know Brady led overall, but as a team, it was, I do believe Dak, and certainly led the NFL in points per game. You take away Amari Cooper, who's had a lot of good seasons in Dallas, 1,000 yards in every year, but his final one, I have some questions about the weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz, but Dak Prescott could still ball out and be a quarterback 1. Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. I just, like I said earlier, I have some concerns with Rodgers, a little bit older there. I think it's going to be a run-first team. I wouldn't be shocked if he finishes with like 30 touchdowns and things, but I just don't think it's going to be the same type of season. Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Jameis Winston, and Jared Goff. Derek Carr. We can switch over to the other board with some breakouts and things like that, Tyler, if you do have it there handy. But Derek Carr, I feel like he could really, and I didn't know, do I put him as a sleeper? Do I put him undervalued? Do I put him as a breakout? I've talked a lot about him. He's a very accurate quarterback. Say what you want about his real life, game, but Look at 2018, 69% completion rate, 2019, 70%, 67 in 2020, 68 last year. He's a very accurate quarterback. You could say he broke out last year with 4,800 yards, is the most he's ever had, but he only had 23 passing touchdowns. So he's only had 30 plus touchdowns once. That came in 2015. That may have been the year he had Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree and had some MVP votes, but it was roughly in around that 2015, 2016 campaign. But now you add Devontae Adams to the squad. You got a mismatch in Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow and Josh McDaniels, who's an offensive mind. So I think he could break out to the point where he actually throws for 5,000 yards and throws for 30 touchdowns. He finished as quarterback 15 last year. He can finish as a top 10 quarterback. The touchdowns are going to increase. I already talked about Hurts and Lance. Undervalued with Brady. Let's keep an eye on the offensive line. Kirk Cousins mentioned him. Justin Fields. Sleepers on the left, Jameis Winston. I just think he's set up for success with a lot of weapons there. He can really hone in on his favorite target. And if that's Michael Thomas, we could see something special from those two guys. Jared Goff as well, right? I know, again, this is fantasy, people, not real life. Jared Goff certainly has some issues, but you bring Jameson Williams, DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's good. TJ Hawkinson, Swift can catch out of the backfield. Team that's going to be playing from behind, top 5 offensive line. And then Kenny Pickett. I think Trubisky's going to be the week 1 starter, but I think Kenny Pickett, you got to see what you got in Kenny Pickett, right? You draft him, Pit Boy, he's eventually going to play. There's no question. He's eventually going to play. I don't know when it'll be. He had a great first preseason game, that's for sure. I don't think Trubisky did anything wrong to lose that job. But Kenny Pickett showed a little bit of rushing upside. Still got some weapons. Deontay, Claypool, talked about Pickens in there as well. So Pat Freiermuth is a little bit of some upside at the tight end position as well. I like this from George. Conair, bust. Rodgers, Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz. I know, if you're looking for top bust, Patrick Mahomes going as quarterback 3, Joe Burrow going as a top 5 quarterback. Those guys may not return value. I think Mahomes, at the end of the day, still finishes as a top 6, top 7 quarterback. So how could I label him as a bust? And I'd be shocked if Burrow didn't finish as a top 10 quarterback. But Rodgers, don't be drafting him as a top 10 quarterback anymore. Daniel Jones, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Tyrod Taylor by week 4 or 5. And then Carson Wentz, right? So much pressure. I don't think there's a quarterback with more pressure to succeed this year than Carson Wentz. He's back inside the NFC East on his 3rd team in 3 years, and I don't think he's going to be all that great for the Commanders. 2 quarterback strategy, Deesh, if you missed it. With Jeff Ratcliffe, kind of wait until round 10, maybe not that late, but wait until, if you got to pick at the end of the first, you can wait and attack it, with guys that are going outside the top 10 of the quarterback position. Seek that value at running back and at wide receiver if everybody's going quarterback heavy. That's kind of the way that I look at things. I think Jeff is on the same page.